Zarthol stood at the window of his small home, looking out at the purple sky of his planet, Siloria. His long, thin fingers pressed against the glass as he watched his people move about their daily lives. The Silurians were a gentle race, with skin that shimmered like opals and eyes that seemed to hold the light of distant stars. But today there was no light in Zarthol's eyes, only worry and fear. For years, the Silurians had been part of the Great Galactic Council. They were not the strongest or the fastest. They did not have powerful weapons or advanced technology. But they were kind, intelligent, and eager to learn. They thought this was enough. They were wrong. Just yesterday, the Galactic Council had made a decision that would change everything for the Silurians. "Your race is weak," the Council had said. "You do not contribute enough to our galactic community. You are unfit." Zarthol's hand curled into a fist as he remembered those cruel words. How could they judge an entire race like that? How could they ignore all the good the Silurians had done? But the Council's decision was final. The Silurians were to leave. They were being kicked out of the galactic community they had called home for so long. Zarthol turned away from the window. He had work to do. As one of the leaders of his people, it was his job to find a solution, to find a new home for the Silurians. He walked to the center of his home, where a large holographic map of the galaxy floated in the air. With a wave of his hand, he zoomed out, looking at the vast expanse of space beyond the territory of the Galactic Council. "There has to be somewhere," he muttered to himself. "Somewhere we can go. Someone who will accept us." As he studied the map, his communicator beeped. It was Lyra, his assistant. "Zarthol," her voice came through, filled with excitement. "We've found something. A signal. From a planet the Council calls Earth." Zarthol's heart raced. Could this be the answer they were looking for? "Tell me more," he said. "It's a planet in a small solar system, far from the Council's territory," Lyra explained. "The beings there call themselves humans. They're not part of the Council. In fact, it seems they don't even know about the wider galactic community." Zarthol nodded slowly. This could be good. A race that wasn't influenced by the Council's prejudices might be more willing to help. "Prepare a message," he told Lyra. "We'll send out a call for help. Maybe these humans will be kinder than the Council." As Lyra signed off, Zarthol looked back out the window. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of deep purple and red. It might be one of the last Silurian sunsets he ever saw. But he couldn't think about that now. He had to be strong for his people. He had to find them a new home. Over the next few days, Zarthol worked tirelessly. He helped organize their people, prepare their ships, and send out their message to Earth, all while trying to keep hope alive among the Silurians. It wasn't easy. Many were scared. Some were angry. But most were just sad to leave the only home they had ever known. Finally, the day came. The Silurians boarded their ships, taking with them only what they could carry. Zarthol stood at the front of the lead ship, watching as their beautiful planet grew smaller and smaller. As they passed the edge of their solar system, a message came through. It was from Earth. They had heard the Silurians call. Zarthol felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they had found a new home, a place where they wouldn't be judged for their perceived weaknesses, but accepted for who they truly were. As their fleet of ships turned towards Earth, Zarthol made a silent promise. No matter what happened, he would protect his people. And maybe one day they would show the galaxy just how strong the Silurians could be. The journey to Earth would be long. But for the first time since the Council's decision, Zarthol felt something other than fear. He felt hope. On Earth, in the bustling control room of the International Space Station, a young scientist named Dr. Emily Chen sat up straight in her chair. Her eyes were wide as she stared at the computer screen in front of her. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her glasses. For weeks, she had been monitoring deep space signals, looking for signs of intelligent life. It was a job many thought was pointless, but Emily had always believed that humans couldn't be alone in the universe. And now it seemed she was right. The signal on her screen was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It was too regular, too precise to be natural. This had to be artificial. This had to be alien. With shaking hands, Emily reached for her communicator. "Director Johnson," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I think you need to see this." Within hours, the control room was packed with scientists and government officials. They all crowded around Emily's screen, talking in excited whispers. "It's definitely a message," Director Johnson said, his usually stern face now lit up with excitement. "But what does it say?" Emily had been working on that. "It's a call for help," she explained, "from a race called the Silurians. They've been kicked out of their home. They're asking if they can come to Earth." The room fell silent. This was bigger than anyone had expected. It wasn't just proof of alien life. It was alien refugees asking for shelter. "We need to inform the president," Director Johnson said finally, "and we need to send a response." Days passed in a flurry of activity. The news of the alien message spread across the world. Some people were excited. Others were scared. Everyone had an opinion. Finally, a decision was made. Earth would send a ship to meet the Silurians, to see if they were truly in need of help and if they posed any threat to Earth. Captain Sarah Chen, Emily's older sister, was chosen to lead the mission. As she prepared for launch, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and fear. "You've wanted to explore space since we were kids," Emily said, helping her sister into her spacesuit. "Now you're going to meet actual aliens." Sarah nodded, a small smile on her face. "I just hope they're friendly." The launch was perfect. Sarah's ship, the Horizon, shot into space, heading towards the coordinates where the Silurian fleet was waiting. As they got closer, Sarah's crew began to pick up more detailed scans of the Silurian ships. They were unlike anything humans had ever built. Sleek, almost organic in design, they seemed to shimmer against the backdrop of stars. "Captain," one of the crew members called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead Silurian ship." Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. Humanity's first contact with an alien race. "Put it through," she said. The screen in front of her flickered to life. And there, looking back at her, was a being unlike any Sarah had ever seen. Its skin shimmered like an opal, its eyes deep and filled with an intelligence that seemed ancient. Despite its alien appearance, Sarah could see the worry and hope in its expression. Emotions that were all too human. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said, its voice translated by the ship's computer. "I am Zarthul of the Silurians. We come seeking your help and kindness." Sarah felt a lump in her throat. This wasn't just a historic moment. It was a cry for help from one sentient race to another. "Greetings, Zarthul," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. We've heard your call, and we're here to listen." As Zarthul began to explain the Silurian situation, Sarah knew that the future of both their races hung in the balance. The decisions made in the next few hours would shape the destiny of Earth and the Silurians forever. And Sarah was right in the middle of it all. The news of the Silurians spread across Earth like wildfire. In every country, on every news channel, people talked about nothing else. Aliens were real, and they wanted to live on Earth. In Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was tense as they debated what to do. "We can't just let them in," said one leader, his face red with anger. "What if they're lying? What if they're here to invade us?" "But what if they're telling the truth?" argued another. "Can we really turn away refugees who need our help?" As the debate raged on, Captain Sarah Chen and Zarthul waited nervously on the horizon. They had moved the ship closer to Earth, but not too close. They didn't want to scare anyone. "Your people seem divided," Zarthul said, his shimmering skin reflecting the lights of the ship's control room. Sarah nodded. It's a big decision. We've never done anything like this before. Zarthol's large eyes blinked slowly. We understand. We do not wish to cause trouble. We only seek a home. Just then, a message came through. The world leaders had made a decision. They wanted to meet Zarthol in person. Is this safe? Sarah asked, worried for her new alien friend. Zarthol stood tall. We must take this risk. For my people. The landing was careful and controlled. The horizon touched down in a large field, surrounded by military vehicles and news cameras. As the ship's door opened, the whole world held its breath. Zarthol stepped out, his opal-like skin glittering in the sunlight. Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. For many, this was their first time seeing a real alien. The world leaders approached, their faces a mix of fear and curiosity. The President of the United States stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice shaking slightly. We have many questions for you." Zarthol bowed his head. "And I will answer them all honestly. We come in peace and friendship." For hours, Zarthol talked with the leaders. He told them about the Xilorians, about their peaceful ways and their love of learning. He explained how they had been kicked out of their galactic community for being too weak. "We do not have powerful weapons or advanced technology," Zarthol said, "but we have knowledge. We have art. We have a desire to live in harmony with others." As he spoke, many of the leaders began to soften. They saw not a threat, but a chance to learn, to grow, to be part of something bigger than just Earth. But some were still worried. "How can we trust you?" One leader asked. "How do we know you won't turn against us?" Zarthol's eyes seemed to glow with sincerity. "We offer all we have. Our knowledge, our skills, our very lives. We will live by your rules, work alongside you, become part of your world. All we ask is for a chance to call Earth our home." The leaders huddled together, talking in low voices. The whole world watched and waited. Finally, the President stepped forward again. "We have made a decision," she announced. "The Xilorians will be allowed to stay." A cheer went up from the crowd. Zarthol's shoulders sagged with relief. But the President continued, "There will be conditions. You will live in a designated area, under observation. You will share your knowledge with us, and you will help us prepare for any threats that might follow you here." Zarthol nodded solemnly. "We accept your terms with gratitude." As the details were worked out, Sarah watched from the side. She couldn't help but feel proud of her planet. Despite their fears, humans had chosen compassion. But she also felt a twinge of worry. This was just the beginning. The real challenges, she knew, were yet to come. As the sun set on this historic day, both humans and Xilorians looked to the future with a mix of hope and uncertainty. A new chapter in Earth's history had begun. The mood in the White House war room was tense. World leaders, military generals, and scientists sat around a large table, their faces grim. At the head of the table, Zarthol stood next to Sarah Chen, both looking worried. On a large screen, a message from the Galactic Council played on repeat. "To the primitive species known as humans, you are harboring fugitives. The Xilorians were deemed unfit for galactic society. By sheltering them, you risk our wrath. Remove them from your planet immediately, or face the consequences." The room erupted into chaos as soon as the message ended. "We can't fight an advanced alien civilization," one general shouted. "But we can't just abandon the Xilorians either," argued a humanitarian leader. The President of the United States raised her hand for silence. "Zarthol," she said, her voice calm but strained, "you never told us about this Galactic Council. Why?" Zarthol's skin dimmed with shame. We were afraid. We thought if you knew about the Council, you might not help us. We never meant to bring danger to your world." Sarah stepped forward. "With all due respect, Madam President, the Xilorians have become our friends. They've shared their knowledge, their culture. They've helped us advance our technology. We can't just throw them out." The room fell silent, everyone considering her words. Suddenly, a young scientist spoke up. What if we stand our ground?" All eyes turned to her. "The Silurians may not have advanced weapons," she continued, "but they have knowledge. Knowledge we've been learning. What if we combine our strength with their wisdom? We might have a chance." The idea spread through the room like wildfire. Soon, plans were being made, strategies discussed. As the meeting continued, Sarah pulled Zarthol aside. "There's something you're not telling us," she said quietly. "Something about your people." Zarthol's large eyes blinked slowly. "You're right," he admitted. "There is more to us than we've revealed, but it's not something we can easily explain. It's something we must show." Before Sarah could ask more, alarms blared throughout the building. A general rushed in, his face pale. "Madam President," he gasped, "we've detected multiple objects entering our solar system. They're heading straight for Earth." The Galactic Council had not waited for a response. They were coming. In the days that followed, Earth became a hive of activity. Governments united, pooling their resources and military might. Scientists worked around the clock, combining human technology with Silurian knowledge to upgrade their defenses. In New Siluria, something strange was happening. The Silurians gathered in large groups, their bodies glowing brighter than ever before. When asked about it, they simply said they were preparing. As the Galactic Council's ships drew nearer, tension on Earth reached a fever pitch. People huddled in their homes, glued to their televisions for updates. In secret bunkers around the world, military leaders prepared for the worst. Sarah found Zarthol standing alone on a hill overlooking New Siluria. The alien city glowed like a beacon in the night. "Are you ready?" she asked, standing beside him. Zarthol turned to her, his eyes shining with a mixture of fear and determination. "We have hidden who we truly are for so long," he said, "deemed weak because we chose peace over violence. But now we will show the galaxy our true strength." As if on cue, the sky lit up. The Galactic Council's ships had entered Earth's atmosphere, their massive forms blocking out the stars. Sarah's communicator beeped. "They're hailing us," she said. Zarthol nodded. "Then it's time. Time to show both humanity and the Council what the Silurians can really do." As they hurried back to the command center, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, what hidden power did the Silurians possess, and would it be enough to save both their peoples from the wrath of the Galactic Council? The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and the final battle was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the Silurians arrived on Earth. In a large open area near the coast of California, a new city had sprung up. It was unlike any other on Earth, with buildings that seemed to glow and change color with the passing of the day. This was New Siluria, the home of the alien refugees. Sarah Chen walked through the streets of this strange new city, marveling at the sights around her. She had been appointed as the main liaison between humans and Silurians, a job that was both exciting and challenging. As she turned a corner, she saw Zarthol waiting for her. The Silurian leader smiled, his opal skin shimmering in the sunlight. "Good morning, Sarah," he said. "Are you ready for today's cultural exchange?" Sarah nodded eagerly. These exchanges had become a regular part of life in New Siluria. Humans and Silurians would share aspects of their cultures, learning from each other. They entered a large domed building. Inside, groups of humans and Silurians were gathered, talking excitedly. In one corner, a human chef was teaching Silurians how to make pizza. The aliens were fascinated by the concept of cheese, something they had never encountered before. In another area, a Silurian artist was demonstrating their unique form of art. Using light and sound, she created beautiful, moving sculptures that seemed to dance in the air. "It's amazing," Sarah said, watching the light sculpture. "I never imagined art could be like this." Zarthol nodded. "And we never imagined food could be so diverse. Your Earth cuisines are a constant source of wonder for us." As they walked, Sarah noticed something strange. A group of Silurian children were playing with human kids, but the Exilorian children seemed to be glowing faintly. "Zarthul," she asked, "what's happening with those children?" Zarthul's eyes twinkled. "Ah, you've noticed. This is something we haven't shared yet. You see, when Silurians are happy and feel safe, we glow. It's a natural reaction for us." Sarah was amazed. "But I've never seen adult Silurians glow like that." "That's because we learned to hide it," Zarthul explained, his voice tinged with sadness. "In the galactic community, it was seen as a weakness, a way for predators to find us. So we suppressed it." Sarah felt a pang of sympathy. "But here on Earth, here, we're learning to let our true selves shine again," Zarthul finished, smiling. As they continued their tour, Sarah saw more examples of how the two cultures were blending. Silurians were learning Earth languages at an incredible speed, while humans were beginning to grasp the complex harmonics of Silurian speech. In a science lab, human and Silurian researchers worked side by side. The Silurians' deep understanding of cosmic phenomena was helping to advance Earth's space exploration programs by leaps and bounds. "You know," Sarah said, "when you first arrived, many humans were scared. They thought you might be a threat." Zarthul nodded solemnly. "We understood their fear. Change is always scary." "But now," Sarah continued, "I think most people see how much we have to gain by working together. Your people aren't weak at all. You're just different, and that difference is valuable." Just then, an alarm sounded. Sarah's communicator beeped urgently. "What's wrong?" Zarthul asked, his skin dimming with concern. Sarah's face was grim as she read the message. "We've just received a communication from space. It's the Galactic Council. They know you're here, and they're not happy about it." The joy of the cultural exchange was suddenly overshadowed by a looming threat. As Sarah and Zarthul rushed to inform their respective leaders, they both knew that the peace they had built was about to face its greatest test. The Silurians had found safety with humanity, but now it seemed that safety might be short-lived. The sky above Earth was filled with the imposing ships of the Galactic Council. Their massive forms cast dark shadows over cities around the world, spreading fear and awe in equal measure. In the command center of New Xiloria, humans and Silurians worked side by side, frantically preparing for what seemed like an impossible battle. Screens showed the Council's ships moving into attack formation. Sarah Chen stood next to Zarthul, both staring at the main screen with grim determination. "It's time," Sarah said softly. "Whatever your people can do, we need it now." Zarthul nodded, his opal skin glowing brighter than Sarah had ever seen. "Gather your leaders," he said. "It's time we show you our true nature." Minutes later, world leaders and military commanders crowded into the room. The President of the United States stepped forward. "Zarthul, we're ready. What can your people do?" Zarthul took a deep breath. "We Silurians have always been peaceful, but peace is not weakness. Our strength lies not in weapons, but in our minds." As he spoke, the other Silurians in the room began to glow brighter. The air seemed to shimmer around them. "For centuries, we hid our true abilities," Zarthul continued. "The Galactic Council feared what they didn't understand. But now we will use our power to protect our new home." Suddenly, every screen in the command center went blank. Then, as everyone watched in amazement, new images appeared, but these weren't coming from any camera or satellite. "We're seeing through the eyes of the Council's soldiers," Zarthul explained. "Our minds can reach out, connect with others, see what they see." The humans in the room gasped in astonishment. This was beyond anything they had imagined. "But we can do more than just see," Zarthul said. His eyes began to glow with an intense light. "We can influence." On the screens, they watched as confusion spread through the Council's ships. Soldiers stumbled, looking disoriented, Some ships began to veer off course. "Are you controlling them?" Sarah asked, her voice a mix of awe and concern. Zarthol shook his head. "Not controlling. Suggesting. Calming. We're showing them memories of peace, of cooperation. We're making them question their orders." For hours, the Xylorians worked their mental abilities. The glow from their bodies lit up the command center like a sun. Human scientists monitored their vital signs, amazed at the energy they were expending. Outside, Earth's military forces stood ready, but no attack came. The Council's ships remained in orbit, not firing a single shot. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, a message came through. The Council was asking to talk. As negotiations began, Sarah turned to Zarthol. The Xylorian leader looked exhausted, his glow dimmed. "Why didn't you tell us about this power before?" she asked. Zarthol's eyes met hers. "We were afraid. In our past, those who knew of our abilities either feared us or wanted to use us as weapons. We wanted you to know us, to accept us for who we are, not what we can do." Sarah nodded, understanding. "And now? What happens now?" Zarthol managed a small smile. "Now we have a chance for real peace, not just for Earth and the Xylorians, but perhaps for the entire galaxy." As the negotiations continued, word spread around Earth about what had happened. The Xylorians, once thought of as weak refugees, were now seen as powerful allies and friends. In New Xyloria, Xylorian children played freely, their bodies glowing brightly without fear. Human scientists worked with Xylorian mentors, exploring the possibilities of their combined knowledge. The battle had been won without a single shot fired, but as Sarah watched the Council's ships slowly retreat from Earth's orbit, she knew that the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was changing, and Earth, with its human determination and Xylorian wisdom, was at the heart of that change. 5 years had passed since the day the Galactic Council's ships retreated from Earth's orbit. The planet had changed in ways no one could have imagined. New Xyloria was no longer just a refugee settlement. It had become a thriving metropolis, a shining example of cooperation between two species. Humans and Xylorians walked its streets together, sharing ideas, cultures, and dreams. Sarah Chen stood on a balcony overlooking the city, marveling at how far they had come. Beside her stood Zarthol, his opal skin glowing softly in the evening light. "It's time," Zarthol said, his voice tinged with excitement and nervousness. Sarah nodded. Today was the day Earth would take its place in the newly formed Galactic Alliance. They made their way to a large open plaza in the heart of the city. A crowd of humans and Xylorians had gathered, all eyes on the sky. As the sun set, a new light appeared, a massive ship, unlike any Earth had seen before. The ship landed gracefully in the plaza. Its doors opened, and out stepped representatives from a dozen alien races. The Galactic Alliance had arrived. A tall, blue-skinned being stepped forward. "I am Sandor, leader of the Galactic Alliance," it announced. "We have come to formally invite Earth and the Xylorians to join our community of worlds." The crowd erupted in cheers. Sarah felt a lump in her throat. This was the moment they had all been working towards. The President of the United States stepped forward to greet Sandor. "We are honored," she said. "But I must ask, why the change of heart? The old council wanted nothing to do with us or the Xylorians." Xandor's expression turned solemn. "The events of 5 years ago showed us the error of our ways. We saw strength in your unity, wisdom in your compassion. The Xylorians, whom we once shunned, taught us the power of understanding and acceptance." As Xandor spoke, Sarah's mind wandered back to the challenges they had faced. The fear and mistrust when the Xylorians first arrived, the threat from the old council, the revelation of the Xylorians' true abilities. But through it all, both species had chosen cooperation over conflict, understanding over fear. They had forged a bond that now served as an example for the entire galaxy. Zarthol stepped forward, his voice ringing out clear and strong. "We accept your invitation," he said, "but we do so as equals. Earth is our home now, and humans are our family. Where we go together." The president nodded in agreement. Earth and Siluria, united as one world, are ready to join the galactic community. Xandor smiled, a gesture that looked strange but warm on its alien face. "Then let us begin the ceremony." What followed was a spectacle unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Lights danced in the sky, music from a dozen worlds filled the air, and beings of all shapes and sizes mingled in the plaza. As the celebration continued, Sarah found a quiet moment with Zarthel. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked. Zarthel's eyes twinkled. "When we first fled our home, we only hoped for safety. But you humans gave us so much more. You gave us acceptance, friendship, and a chance to be our true selves." Sarah smiled. "And you gave us the stars." They looked up at the night sky, now filled not just with distant points of light, but with the ships of their new galactic neighbors. The galaxy had changed. The weak race that had been shunned had found not just safety, but strength. And humanity, once alone in the universe, was now part of a grand cosmic family. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, it heralded not just a new day, but a new era for Earth, for the Xilorians, and for the entire galaxy. An era of unity, understanding, and endless possibilities. The adventure was just beginning.